Alright, so for this video I'm going to be going over the turret UI, which is its own little complex of little machinery things. So I'm going to turn off this turret right here so that I can fully explain. So when I hit play, I create something called a base turret, which is the first form. The first form of these turrets don't do anything, so I'm going to place all 12. So the game can start. And they don't shoot, they don't do anything. And when I click on it, I get a little UI, which is an activation cost of 125. Right now there is no cost because I didn't put in the currency system for the sake of not having to grind out all this stuff. So when I activate it, it turns into a living turret. And I can do that for any one of these. So you get to see like a lot of it at work. Anyway. And then once they're activated, the UI changes to upgrade, cost, infuse, and move, which we'll be doing, be able to move stuff, infuse it with a game mechanic, and then upgrade it, which will make it more powerful. But again, those things have been turned off because it'd take too much time to really go through all of that. So I'm going to turn back on this little tester turret. And the way this was made was I have my little turret UI, which is a canvas. And this canvas is unique to the object only. So each turret has its own UI. And there's a little canvas. A canvas is essentially a 2D plane where you could put buttons and other 2D aspects on top of it. The arrow is that little aesthetic arrow we have right there, so you know which turret you're under. The arrow is important. Helps guide the player. Then we have the buttons. So we have the button, which has the upgrade text. We have the button for the infuse, and we have the button for the move. So each button has its own little code right here, has a text manager code. And another important thing is that each button has its own tag. This tag is very important because I'm going to be using that to separate them in the code. So each one has its own little boop, infuse, etc., etc. Boop, boop. Moving forward. So this is the turret manager. This is important because this is going to be holding the upgrade cost, the move cost, and fuse cost. It turns off the UI when the game starts. That way you don't have a bunch of those on your screen whenever it's immediately placed. So it's always turned off. It's always going to be turned off, and I have the costs already set up. On mouse down, so when you click on it, it's going to check to see if it's false. If it's false, it becomes true. And then I have this little debug log thing saying that it's turned on so that I know that it's turning on. That way if something's not working, I know where exactly it's breaking. Boop. So this checks to see if it's not. So this is checking to see if a UI is open or not. Because I don't want the player to be opening a bunch of UIs at the same time and crowding their screen. So this checks to see if there's a UI open in the UI manager, which is right over here. This is actually pretty short. So it's a current UI and a past UI. I had to put this in a separate script so I can put it into the game master so that it could check every single turret at the same time. So it starts off with the past UI being null. If the past UI is not equal to null, the past UI is set to false. Essentially what this does is if you click on one and then you click on another one, the old one gets turned off. So that's what this does right here. And this is kind of feeding the information into this code so that it can manage all that good stuff. If it's true, when you click on it, it sets to false. And then it tells me to false, and then it returns back. So that's the simple stuff of that's a simple mechanic of getting it turned on and off and all that good stuff. So we have the game object home turret. So this is for the text. So this is for me to be able to control what the buttons say, because I have them default set to what they're supposed to do, but it's also important to make sure that you can change what they say so that you can tell the player how much cost something has and other changing things like that. So this grabs the text component. So it grabs the little component right over here. So this is a text component, and what I'm essentially doing is I'm loading it into the script so that the code can reference it. So this is where the tags come in. So if the tag is turret count, which is the thing that you were watching right here. Right now its defaults to turrets left to be placed. It's really small. but trust me, that's what it says. And it changes to turrets left plus the turret count, which is in the game master over here, which we went over earlier. So the game will only start if there's a turret count of 0, and if the timer hits 0, which is right here. So if the turret count is 0, the game starts, or if the start timer hits 0, the game starts, and if this is true, it makes this 0 too. That's just so that the player can't place turrets, or so the timer doesn't keep going even after the turrets are placed. And then this just makes the timer go down. I plan on truncating the timer so that it only shows at least maybe 1 or 2 decimal places max instead of all 5, just for aesthetics. But anyway, back to the turret text manager. Here we go. So this will be telling the UI that I was telling you the turret's left, and if it's 0, it becomes false, so it becomes invisible. Same thing with the timer. Once the timer becomes 0, it becomes invisible, so you don't have to worry about that. And then this is where the upgrade and the base turret cost comes in. So if it matches these tags, it'll set it to upgrade cost plus this stuff, and then activate cost plus this stuff. So that's kind of what dictates all that good stuff. Alright. And that's kind of the gist of how the UI gets working. So you can start off with your little press play here. So you set up your turret. You can click it. The base turret only has one option, that's to turn it on. Once you turn it on, you get a little upgrade cost, your infuse, and your move. These two haven't been made yet, but it's just a simple copy and paste of what I did for this and just changing the tag it's looking for. It's not a big deal. And these will be able to do cool stuff. Here's the timer going down, and here's the turret left to place. If I make one, it goes down, and once it hits 0, it starts the game. Or if the turret starts the game, boop, it starts spawning the bad guys up here, and I can't place any more turrets even though I still had turrets to place, which gives the player a little bit of pressure to make sure they have their board set up before the timer hits 0. And then if I click it, boop, 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 I can flicker it, and no 2 UIs can be open at once. Although sometimes they can float over. Now it's just a stacking thing. And that's all I'm going to go for this video, the UI.